All right, top of the morning. Good morning. My name is Eric Brown, and this is the marketing plan for 4Halos photography. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, Amy, for giving me the opportunity to actually use your company, your product, to go through with this plan and kind of try to design something um, in the marketing realm to help improve your business here. So it was challenging at times. It was definitely interesting. I know nothing about photography, so I definitely learned a lot. And speaking and working with you, I really appreciate and have a newfound, I don't know, joy or understanding for photography. So there's a couple of sections that we will cover. The plan itself, the physical plan, is very lengthy, but this um, presentation here is a breakdown and a highlight of key points. So some stuff you will see, and I may not go in depth or really mention it too much, but there is a lot more covered in the actual plan itself. So if we go ahead and get into it, this here, the introduction, this kind of gives you an overview of what the plan itself is, or everything that we do touch on in this presentation. Number one is a marketing plan overview. And then we touch on the internal environment, which the internal is all about you, all about your company. So I won't really go into that here because it's your company, you know about it. Um, the external environment, this is outside factors that can affect the company. Um, so we will touch on that. Your SWOT analysis, that's your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that's kind of a breakdown on what I saw as different things that can affect the company in all of those four areas. Then we move on to your marketing objectives and your target market. This is when we really start getting into the meat of the plan, um, changes or things that we really want to focus on, the marketing mix strategies. Um, that is kind of the things that we do in order to help improve the marketing itself. Implementation is what are we actually doing? You know, what are the steps that we're taking? What things are we putting in place to make sure that we get reach our goals? Evaluation and control is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's an evaluation. It's how we handle, how we measure some of the changes and implementations that we're making, and then the references at the end, which isn't on this presentation, but it is in the plan itself. So we'll move on. Move on to the marketing plan overview. So basically, the plan was designed with recommendations and different ideas on how to implement different marketing strategies to reach each specific objective. That's pretty much what a marketing plan is, and that's what I try to accomplish here with this plan for 4Halos. The focus itself is on growing and expanding the social media customer base. I saw that as a big opportunity to really improve, kind of the where we touch, the people that we reach, and I think it's a big way that we can, in the end, get some more sales. Because at the end of the day, that's as a company, that's what we want. course, we want to solve customer solutions. We want to give them a great product, but in the end, we want to get some sales. We want to increase the social media following and sales during the company's down period of the year. A lot of this stuff we will go into more in depth a little later on, but with the down period in the year being roughly, January to July-ish. I know it's a little more targeted than that, but how can we increase sales? How can we keep people coming? How do we stay busy? How do we stay relevant during that time? Implementation plans are set with completion dates to ensure that all marketing goals and objectives are met on time. As I mentioned, this is what are we actually doing? What are the things that we're putting in place to make sure that we're reaching our goals? And any goal that you have has to be measurable. It has to have a time period on it. And, excuse me, my dog seems to always want to drink water when I get to doing stuff on the computer. But yeah, they have to be measurable, so we know what to measure and what time frame that we have. Marketing strategies have been proposed using the 4 P's of marketing. That's product, price, place, and promotion. We will go in depth into these. This is pretty much how the things that I thought that we should change or that we should add or that we should focus on, and that's kind of how we're going to do it. And then the tools for evaluation are provided. So that's the evaluation and control portion of it. So again, this is the internal environment that I went into. Again, I won't cover too much of it because, it's all about you. But it's set up so if anybody picks up this this presentation here, they can look through and kind of see exactly what we're trying to accomplish or get a little bit more detail on the company. All right, so the external environment. As I mentioned, this is outside factors, things that can affect the business, that can have an effect on 4Halos. Excuse me. So some of that I saw would be political and legal factors, some economic factors, environmental, and technological. So I broke these down into different categories. I won't touch on all the points here, but I will highlight some that I thought were pretty important. The can I do that? So what I was speaking about there is kind of what are the rules? What can you shoot and when can you shoot it? And this has to do with public versus private. Public most times if you're shooting it's free game most of the time. But when you get onto private property, that's when you may need to ask permission to be there or to shoot certain things. But I don't really see 4Halos running into too much of that issue with there being a home studio. Because although that is private property, it's yours and you're going to give yourself permission every time. But I know you do some shoots out in nature. So it just, if it is on private property, it is kind of a little bit of a gray area, because we don't always know what's public and what's private. But if it is private, that's one thing that we'd have to do is get permission. The U.S. EPA. So I found an article touching on recycling and how photography actually is affecting the environment. There's a bunch of film stuck in landfills, and that's not doing any good for the environment because a lot of that stuff is hard to break down. It's harsh. Whereas if we have more recyclable, or we make sure to recycle photography equipment and the stuff that goes along with it, like film, cartridges, things like that. Recycling contributes to the world's green initiative. Everybody wants to go green, trying to save our earth as much as we can. So we want to make sure that we are recycling, and hopefully other people know that. A big one that I wanted to touch on was photography and the law. Now, what I wanted to speak on about this was content ownership. Now, with photography being so big these days, and some of it is official and some of it is not, but people who get official photography done, some of them are taking those prints and using them without, getting a release form for them, or, really having the authorization to go use them or print them or do whatever. And that violates the law. That violates all the copyright laws that have to go along with photography and content ownership. So this is one thing I wish the public knew a lot more about, because it can affect 4Halos in a way, because of they're not ordering prints. They're just taking the samples that you're giving them and printing them off, and it's really not doing anybody any good. They're not getting good prints because the quality may not be as good, and then you're not getting the businesses either, because they're taking it offline illegally or whatever you got, and using the watermark to image for whatever purpose that they are trying to use it for. So that's a big one that I see in photography being a little bit of an issue, because a lot of people don't know, maybe they don't care about content ownership. Excuse me. Some economic factors that I see is photography has become a little bit of a do-it-yourself industry. Everybody has camera phones, and they think it makes them photographers. A lot of these cameras are very high-powered on these phones, but of course nothing is comparable to official photography equipment, an official photographer who has an eye for some of the nuances of the field or the practice. And digital cameras, frankly, are becoming a lot more affordable. So a lot more people have it. People are picking photography up as a side hobby and doing things for their friends, their family, instead of going out and actually getting that official product done by, a company like 4Halos. Environmental, the one I kind of wanted to touch on was helping the environment. First, the analog versus digital. This kind of ties in with the US EPA and the recycling, because it's which do you use, which is better. Digital is more efficient, but a lot of the products are harsher, or more harsh, I should say. So that's the problem that we run into with there. But the big one that I want to touch on was the helping the environment. So there are a lot of different types of photography, and nature photography, which you aren't a nature photographer per se, but you do shoot in nature. And some of the things that people catch in pictures can really evoke emotion. And it can make people feel certain ways about things that they didn't know they felt, about the environment, about anything. So I think photography is one area that can help the environment. And then the technological factors is the ease of use. There's an influx of photographies photographers, because of how easy it is to do photos. I won't say to be a photographer, but to take pictures. It is, it's an easy way into the field. There's not a lot of classes and things like that are mandated or that you have to take, but you can pick up a camera or a camera phone and take a couple pictures, and people think they're photographers. Another one is the I was there. A lot of people are not really living in the moment, but instead, taking a picture, being at a concert, taking the pictures instead of just enjoying, just to show people that they were there. And a lot of that comes back up to the ease of use. We all have these powerful devices in our hand. We can take a picture at a moment's notice, upload it online, and everyone knows we were there, or we have the photo that we want. Continued sociocultural factors, industry trends, competitive environment, indirect competitors, and then future competitors. With the sociocultural factors, big thing is the trends. So the thing with photos and the technology is that both combined can be a little bit dangerous. And I say that because photos are easily edited, photos are easily manipulated. People can take a photo, make it, manipulate it any way that they want in a moment's notice. And it doesn't really take a lot of training for a person to learn how to do that. They just play around with it for a little bit, and then they figure it out. Some of the industry trends that are going on, the mirrorless cameras, which this was something that I found pretty interesting. There's a lot of hype behind it because of its 4K capabilities, and it's manual focusing, which I guess that's what it was made for. And then there's kind of a shift backwards a little bit to unedited photos, because people like to see the raw picture or emotion, or get that raw, authentic feeling from whatever photo that they're looking at that time. So that's some of the trends that I thought were pretty interesting. And then there's the competitive environment, and the companies listed were just here in Appleton: Kim Theo Photography, Debbie Deneen, Photography, Kenmar Photography. Indirect competitors, I know there may be a couple more, but JC Penney Portraits, Sears just went out of business up this way, but Sears had a photo section, and that's kind of what I felt were indirect competitors, were some of those bigger chain type photography places. And then you have your future competitors, which are the other amateur photographers that are coming up, picking up the camera, really finding a love for photography. And as I mentioned before, it's not a hard field to break into. It may take a little bit to really build your clientele base, but if you want to do it, you can pretty much teach yourself how to do it. Now this here is where we start getting into really all right, and advanced technology being another opportunity, with everything going digital and technology advancing seemingly by the week. I think that's gonna create more opportunities for the photography field as well. This being an internet dominant era, is a positive, and it's also another opportunity because a lot of things can be done online. You know, you can transfer your photos from yourself to your client, throwing back and forth different ideas, the communication, everything being done online makes it so much more easier to communicate and faster. Um, you know, there's not a lot of meeting in person. I mean, especially now with the whole COVID thing going on, or wherever are at with that. Um, but there aren't a lot of people meeting face to face. It's all cell phone, it's text, it's call, it's FaceTime, things like that. It being an internet dominant era is an opportunity for Halos to grow itself. And then, as I mentioned before, the online portfolios, that's another opportunity um, that can quickly become a strength because people can see all of your work and access it online. Some of the threats to the company and I mean the overall industry would be the whole do it yourself portion of it. There's a lot of people who are opting not to spend the funds on professional photography. Instead, I have a friend that may do it, and it may not be as good or as polished as a professional photographers may be, but it's a little bit cheaper. Um, and some people are willing to trade that quality for um, the price of it, and some don't really know the difference of the quality because they've never really, been in the position or wanted to purchase professional photography. So do-it-yourself industry can be a huge threat to what 4Halos and the photography industry as a whole has going on. The unedited photos trend. Um, Now, a lot of professional photography is edited, um, whether it be the touch-up spots here and there. But the unedited photo trend, the raw, the authentic trend could be um, a bit of a threat. Chain photography stores, they may be easier to get in. Again, it may not be a specialty as 4Halos. At 4Halos, you're never really gonna go in someone's home and see the same type of newborn photos, the same props used. Maybe very rarely, um, but you're gonna see some of the same props used in some of the chain photography stores, and some people are okay with that because then they're not paying the premium price for some of those more personalized photos. The pandemic baby bust. This was something that I found pretty interesting. Um, Source showed that that 1 in 3 women said that they would opt to push off, trying to have a child until after the pandemic clears up because, it's no one knows what's going to happen or they were unsure about how things are going to go. So there may be a downtick um, in baby births, which I know has kind of been happening over the years as is, but this may be a pretty steep one. Excuse me. Um, Dispensable incomes. This kind of goes hand in hand with the whole pandemic, um, with people just getting back to work. So I'm still out of work. Um, and people don't have the extra disposable income to spend on something like photography, which, for some may be a need to have that newborn session. Others, it's just choice. They don't mind, taking the pictures on their phone and just showing it like that. So disposable income not being what it usually is or what it once was could be a threat to the industry. Consumer technology. This goes hand in hand with the do-it-yourself industry as consumer technology gets better and better. Which, as I said, it seems like it's happening by the day. phones get more powerful. They're getting, 2, 3, 4 cameras on a phone that are, high megapixels and very sharp and things like that. It seems like more people are going away from even the chain photography stores. So really, the personalized photography, they may be going away from that and just using the technology that they have in the palm of their hands. And I think one of the biggest threats is that it is an easy entry to the field. Um, like I said, there are some classes you could take to give you a different perspective, different look, but you don't have to have official schooling or a degree. If you want to be a photographer, you go get the equipment and start your journey. Is essentially what you can do. So those are some of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and we will address weaknesses, opportunities, and threats later on down in this presentation. All right. The marketing objectives and the target market. So some of the marketing objectives that we'll touch on to try to take some steps forward in the company to improve sales, improve social media, things like that. First, we'll touch on, one of the things we want to do is continue developing a competitive advantage. Like I mentioned, those dress throws, they're one of a kind. The personalized props, a lot of that is made in house. A lot of that is made by you yourself, and that's something that a lot of other photographers can't say. Having the true nature shoots, really being outside and really shooting the photo, getting that that lighting right instead of just using a backdrop. Now there are times where you may have to use a backdrop, but when you can be outside and get some cool pictures outside with the natural lighting, and that's exactly what you're doing. I think it shows. And then a big thing, I think, is the personal relationships and intimate experience that customers have or they share while working with you at 4Halos is something that will keep people coming back, and it is something that will help customers recommend others to you, and I think that'll fall right in line with some of the objectives that we have for some of the implementations that we have. Some of the marketing objectives: increase customer engagement on Facebook and Instagram by 10% by November of this year. Use social media management tool to schedule posts across all platforms, that being Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you happen to create any other social media platforms, you can kind of link them all together with this social media tool and post across all platforms to increase exposure and visibility. We want to implement that by December, end of the year here, December 31st. We want to increase brand awareness in communities with higher average income by December 31st of this year, and that goes in hand with the target market. If we can get that together and streamline that, it'll take care of reaching the right communities. And then a financial objective is increasing sales during the down period of the year by 10%. This is to be completed by April of 2022. Down periods are January to March. So I pushed this one out till next year because we're already almost in June here. But we can build up the customer engagement, the social media, the brand awareness, And then by the time all that is as strong as ever, boom, here comes the down period, and we can make some changes during the down period to try to bolster those sales. So again, those all work hand. The marketing and financial objectives always work hand in hand with one another. Continuing on with that, um, trying to break down and talk about some of those markets. I'll talk about the primary market first. Um, the demographics of it is being female, age 36 to 42. There are a lot of women around this age who are married with children or having children because they're in their career, they're established. Um, so they're looking to either start or keep building onto their family. So those are some of the people that we really want to focus on. A higher class income are people that we want to touch. There are some areas in Appleton where the median household income is 65,000. We want to target those those communities. Sorry, and Calumet County. There's some areas in Calumet County where 72,000. Now I know that's out of the valley, but hey, maybe we make a jump over there. Maybe we put some flyers in some areas over there and try to get some of that business. Have them come around the water, come over to Nina, and get some of that photography from you. Psychographics that we're looking at. We're looking at women who are interested in art and decor, who prefers item that can't be found in normal stores or reproduced. So these boutique items, unique items, one of a kind, personalized items, that's essentially what we're looking for. That's part of their psychographics. That's part of their buying habits. They want to support local businesses. And then lifestyle that they live in the Fox City and surrounded areas. Some of those surrounded areas can be Calumet County, which is a little bit away. It can be Brown County, which we're talking up into Green Bay at that point. But, excuse me, these are areas that we can really touch and jump into. And then just I have a primary market persona with a little background on her. So. Secondary market, again, females age 25 to 35, newly graduated, starting a family, probably medium class income. People who love babies, looking to start a family, very thoughtful, internet shoppers, boutique lovers, again, the unique products, the environmentally friendly products. These are the people that we're really trying to target. And then I have a secondary persona here, which would fit into that target market. The marketing mix strategies, the brand position strategy, we want to continue to differentiate the product, continue going above and beyond the customer service needs, making memorable moments, having people come back and just really harping on the experience that they're getting with you. And then they're getting personalized art. So those are two things in a brand positioning strategy that we can present to potential customers. And that's something that they will present to different people and bring it all back home. The product strategy. What I am recommending is product line extension. What I'm meaning is lesser packages at a lower price. So maybe breaking a package in half, maybe not doing the whole 4-hour session on a bigger package, but trickling down a little bit to create a new smaller package, and that may bring in some of the people who aren't able to afford that premium pricing, but can afford a little bit lower pricing to still bring in some income. The pricing strategy, it's recommended that we stick with the current pricing plan. It works. It's fitting to the product. It's a premium pricing for a premium product. So I don't think we should shortcut that at all, other than if we were to go with a product line extension. And then the integrated marketing communications or promotion strategy. Hootsuite is recommended. So Hootsuite is a social media marketing management program. So that's where I was speaking about a little bit earlier, where we could combine those online social sites and really manage them at one time or one at a time or however we want to do it. But we can schedule postings out from here to the end of the year if we wanted to, and they'll automatically post. So I think that'll free up some time for you, since you are a solo operation, to do other things, and then you still have that core marketing going. A referral program is being recommended. So if a customer refers somebody else, maybe they get a percentage off a package or a mini book, or something that keeps them attached or engaged with 4Halos. And then we want to get into some of the hospitals' labor and delivery departments, get some placements there, kind of like you have at the Women's Center. If we can expand to some of the area hospitals, kind of bump out some of those other photographers, that could prove to be big for you as well. Now, how do we go about this? So as far as the product line extension, this is just breaking up the packages. We can do this January through June of next year of 2022. That's going through that slow period. So we're trying to bring in some additional income during that slow period with breaking down the packages, making the lower prices. All right, the next thing that is being recommended is to implement a referral program. This would not really, there would be no additional cost to it. This would be, offering a percentage off of the next session or a canvas photo or a personalized album, kind of like what's offered in the Daphne collection. I think that would encourage people to really refer some of their friends, family members to 4Halos, and it's a little bit of an incentive. So I think we would try to implement that during the slow periods of the year, which would be that January to March ish area. And I think that could be really beneficial and helpful to boosting some of the sales during that period. Using Hootsuite Social Media Manager is, I think, would be very big. Hootsuite Professional Plan is $49 a month. It's charged annually, which comes to about $588 a year, which I don't think is too out of the ordinary. You're able to pretty much combine all of your social media into one area. Your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Even if you have other social media sites that you post to, you're able to lump all those posts together and schedule their postings. You can schedule them a day in advance, a week in advance, or you can schedule them for the whole year. So that's very helpful. And then that Hootsuite Social Media Manager also has a way for you to look at your metrics, see how those posts are doing. so you can change or update, tweak, even delete some posts if that's what you need to do. The product placement that I'm speaking of is reaching out to local hospitals, labor and delivery departments, and try to get some photo placements there. Again, kind of like you have at the Women's Center, and I just going off of that Women's Center pricing. This would be about, we're thinking $10,000, breaking this up over 2 years. See, I pushed that out to March 2022 to give you a little bit of financial cushion. So we're thinking about $5,000 for this year, and then $5,000 for the previous year, taking you into 2022. And hopefully that'll get us into all of the local hospitals and bump some of those other photographers out. The last thing speaking of here is increasing the social media engagement organically. And this is no cost. This is just by changing some of the ways that you do things on social media, more frequent posting, using hashtags, keywords, and really engaging with your following on a consistent basis, so they feel included, they feel like they are special, and essentially that brings them in, and using things like, comment, share, asking them to do things or asking probing questions, that will ultimately help increase the social media engagement. Continuing with the implementation, what I have here is a couple of examples. On the left-hand side here, I do have a little bit of a picture of the Hootsuite social media manager. Now, I did this with a previous company, and you can see some of the scheduled posts that I have there with the Facebook and Twitter. And again, you can schedule out today, tomorrow, or however far in advance that you want to. You pick your time. You can even stagger the times if you do some research and figure out Wednesday at 9 in the morning is an optimal time to post on Twitter. Then you can schedule that post for 9 o'clock on Wednesday. But if it works better for 11 o'clock on Wednesday for Facebook, you can stagger those. So they don't have to be completely perfect or lined up like that, but it is very helpful if you go through the week. You have some posts you want to throw up, kind of get them all in order, take a little bit of time, and then it'll save you some time later on in the week, which you can dedicate to other things instead of the posting. Running 4Halos by yourself is probably pretty time consuming trying to get everything in, but this is one thing that'll help you, and then you can really keep track of your post. And again, like I said, they have metrics to see how it's going to. On the right hand side here, we have just a sample post for the reduced photo packages that I mentioned, breaking those packages up during the slow season. This was created using Canva, which Canva is free online. I believe there is a paid option which gives you a little more access to different templates and things like that. But this is a cheap, easy way to design post, and they can be very effective. And below it, I just have a sample post caption, and some of the things I'll highlight here are what I kind of touched on with the increasing the social media engagement. Using keywords, limited time only. So that makes people think, oh, I gotta get I gotta get this done. I gotta look into this. It creates a sense of urgency for customers who want to do business with you or want to come get a session with you. It's got your name in there so they know what they're looking at. Reduced. Anything with a reduced rate is going to turn somebody's head. It's going to perk them up a little bit. And then we have the hashtags in there. And a hashtag the 4Halos. Always want to do that so it can group all of your posts together. Because that's essentially what hashtagging is doing, is grouping all of your posts so people can find them. Then you got the like, comment, share, and then big photos, mini prices. Just a quick, catchy tagline. And if you add that with things or different posts that go along with the reduced photo packages, then all of those will be lumped together. You'll be able to click on that and see all of the posts with the big photos, many prices tagged there. Now, excuse me. Now, how do we evaluate? How do we know how we're doing? How do we keep track of that? And that's what the evaluation and control section is. Here I have some metrics. I define them, but I don't tell you how to really get them in this slideshow. But in the plan is very well laid out on how to get to some of these numbers. So I'll just touch on them real quick. The social media reach is the total number of people who see your content. So you throw it out there and you really want to track who are you touching? How many people are actually seeing this post? How effective is your placement of it, essentially? The frequency refers to the number of times that these customers will be exposed to the message. And this is often done in an hourly fashion. That's kind of how it's tracked. But frequency is pretty important as well. The more you see something, the more you're probably going to want to look into it. That's kind of how I think of it. Return on advertisement, we can think your return on investment. So how much capital are you putting into your advertising? You take that and then you think about, okay, what am I getting out of it? So it's the return on the money that you're putting into advertising. Are you actually seeing a good profit coming from that? And if you're not, then you got to switch gears and go somewhere else or do something else with your advertising. Engagement. That's pretty simple. It's the measurement of comments, likes, and shares. So how are people interacting with you is essentially what engagement is. The more, the better. We want to keep 4Halos in the conversation. So the more likes, comments, and shares, the better. All publicity is not good publicity, but as long as you're in the conversation, it can prove to be beneficial. Page likes and followers. That's exactly what it sounds like. How many people are really following you on different social sites? How many followers do you have on Twitter? How many likes do you have on Facebook? How many followers do you have on Instagram? So that's what that is. Impressions, the number of times that your content is displayed, no matter if it was clicked or not. So if it comes across my screen, that's an impression. I don't have to click on it, but I saw it. So that's pretty straightforward there. And then the referral rate. The referral rate has to do with the plan that we put in place for the referral program during the slow periods of the season. So it's the volume of referred purchases as a percentage of your total purchases. So how many of your customers are coming via referral? So that's something that you really want to keep track of as well, to see if the referral program is worth keeping? Should you extend? Should you scrap it? That's one thing that you want to keep track of. Continuing on with the evaluation and control, here I have a social media engagement forecast. So this here is just a 6-month forecast. What we wanted to do is improve your social media engagement 20% over the next 6 months. So it's estimated 8% the first month, 10, 12, 15, all the way up till we get to November, December, where we want to get 20% each of those months. And if we follow this plan and it actually, turns out to where we are on track for this, I mean, you think about it, you're essentially doubling your followers. You're doubling your Facebook likes. You're doubling your Instagram followers. I know you're not very active on Twitter, but you're doubling the Twitter follows. So that's why 20% it may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but it could be huge. That'll take the 2,900 people ish that are following you or that like you on Facebook, and that takes it to almost 5,000, 6,000. So this is just a forecast on what could be if we strictly stick to the social media engagement. Now, with any plan, you have to have a contingency plan. Contingency plan, that's plan B. I said before, if you're looking at your metrics and things aren't working out like they're supposed to, then you got to kind of switch gears and have a fallback plan. So what that is for the product placement, I know you do flyers already, but we could up the number of flyers, or we could really focus on getting flyers out in different areas, going back to some of the areas that we want to get into, like the Calumet counties, or even going up to Brown County up in Green Bay, or some of the areas with higher household average income. We want to get in those areas. We want to bring those people to us, and because those are going to be the people who buy the premium packages. We won't even have to pitch a broken down package or a split package for them. We could just, split or advertise the regular stuff, and it could prove to be vital. But I said that's about $400 to $700 depending on who you go through to get those printed. It's about $4 to $7 per flyer. Thinking about 10,000 flyers. I just kind of threw that number out there. But if we go more or less, it is about $4 to $7 per flyer. Now, as far as the referral promotion goes, I say if this doesn't work out to plan, we extend it. These type of promotions, they take a little bit of time to generate traction. So I would not be surprised if it didn't take off right away. But I would say give it another 3 to 6 months of promoting the promotion. And then people will catch up to it, and we might start seeing some of those referrals come in. As far as the product, the new packages, the lesser packages, if those don't work, people aren't interested, or we're just not getting what we want out of it, take the focus off of it and put it back on the top sellers. Go real hard at the top sellers, and try to really, really advertise those so we can get it to the right people. I think if we put the focus on the top selling products, along with putting the flyers in the right neighborhoods, getting it in the right hands, we could have a whole different plan here, and it could really work out. So again, this is the plan B to if the official marketing plan itself doesn't work out. I do have some references from things that I did speak about here. I did not put them in this presentation, as this is just kind of an overview of the marketing plan and ideas and strategies that we put together that we think would be really helpful to 4Halos. But I'll send the official written plan as well, and that is very detailed, and it includes all that information in there. So that pretty much wraps it up. I'd like to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to work with you, interview you. I learned something about a whole new industry. I was not very versed on photography, but I'm never going to back down for a challenge. So, again, my name is Eric Brown. Thank you. And this has been the marketing plan for 4Halos. Take care.